Good evening, and first at 5, we have an update on our homeless crisis, with City Council scheduled to vote tomorrow on the mayor's proposed ban on daytime camping. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. Well, the ban sounds like it has a good chance of passing. As Blair Best reports, not all the commissioners are on board.
Let's show that we matter!
Last Wednesday, signs of protest took center stage outside Portland City Hall, all in response to Mayor Ted Wheeler's proposed daytime camping ban.
When the activists come, it changes sort of the tenure and tone of Chambers.
What we didn't see was the written testimony, more than half of which was for the ban. Now, Commissioner Renee Gonzalez is looking to make changes to the ordinance.
I think it's long overdue. Portlanders have been demanding some real changes on our streets, so I think it's a step in the right direction.
He wants to see stronger rules around tents near schools and non-city run shelters, as well as ways to break up large tent encampments.
So I think that's going to make it easier to clean up. That sort of eliminates some of the real opportunity for real criminal behavior to congregate.
Arguably, the most controversial piece of this proposed camping ban is the enforcement of it. If a homeless person is told to move their tent 3 times, they could face fines or jail time. Though some commissioners say the likelihood of that happening is slim.
Almost no one's going to jail over this. I think the reality of what we're trying to do is get tents off the streets, and so this authorizes police and others to enforce.
Some cities are looking at repurposing the jails to be treatment centers as well, because you kind of need some security when people go through that very difficult process of withdrawal.
Commissioner Dan Ryan plans to vote yes on the ban, even though there's a lack of shelter in the city.
We also have some people on the streets who say no to services. And so we need to get to the bottom of that. We need to provide services that they'll say yes to, and we need to stop enabling and just allowing people to do illegal things on the street.
Housing Commissioner Carmen Rubio wasn't available to talk with us on camera Tuesday, but says in a statement that she plans to vote no on the ban, adding council is committed to not criminalizing people solely for being homeless and believes this ordinance crosses that line. She also wants to see more shelter sites before enacting a ban. There will be a second reading on the proposed camping ban on Wednesday, and then there will be time for public testimony on any changes made to the ban. And then council is hoping to vote. If it passes, it'll go into effect next month. Blair Best, KGW News.
We'll keep you posted. Federal law enforcement officials have reportedly opened an investigation into former Secretary of State Shamia Fagan. That is according to the Oregonian, which is citing an unnamed source briefed about this investigation. Officials are reportedly looking into her side job once she quit with the troubled cannabis company La Moda. Now, Fagan resigned as Secretary of State in early May. The scope of the federal investigation is unclear, but if confirmed, it would be in addition to separate investigations by the State Ethics Commission and Oregon's Department of Justice. KGW has reached out to Fagan for comment. We are approaching week 6 of the Republican-led walkouts in the Oregon Senate. Today, Democrats took to the steps of the Capitol to make their case to voters over everything that is at stake. Daisy Caballero joins us in Salem. Daisy, they are pointing to nearly 300 bills that could get scrapped this session if this does not get resolved. What is on that list?
Well, David, Democratic lawmakers and several community advocates are demanding for Republican senators to come to work. And actually on the steps behind me on the Capitol, they detailed bills on education, reproductive rights, and wildfires. Some of the bills that would fail if they continue to not show up.
We're not giving up on this session. We are not giving up on Oregonians. We're not giving up on these bills that are so critically important. We're not giving up on the state budget, and we're not giving up on the Senate.
The longest walkout in Oregon's legislature history continues after Republican senators refuse to return until House Bill 2002 is killed. It's a bill that would provide reproductive and gender-affirming health care, something Democrats say they won't compromise on.
We can't negotiate our fundamental reproductive freedoms, which Oregonians voted on and voted us into office to protect.
But it's not just House Bill 2002 on the line here. There are nearly 300 other bills at stake of not passing.
Right now, the legislature is considering a record-breaking $10.2 billion investment in the K-12 state school fund. This investment will have huge impacts for Oregon students.
Funding for wildfire programs are also on the chopping block. Senator Jeff Golden went to the extent of saying if these wildfire bills aren't adopted, the state is looking at serious damage that can be life or death.
If we don't want a series of summers blanketed by toxic smoke over increasing expanses of the state, we have to stay the course.
KGW caught up with Republican Senator Tim Knopp at the Capitol today. Here's what he had to say on the press conference held downstairs.
Well, the Democrat leadership could end the walkout tomorrow by being trustworthy and bipartisan and constitutional and lawful. They choose not to do that. So I think that really tells you the value and how they value Oregonians. And we've said we're coming back. And so there's no issue with the perceived emergency.
Now, this particular walkout is the 5th walkout in the last 5 years, and legislators have until June 25th, to pass all these bills. In Salem, Daisy Caballero, KGW News.
And for those that are curious, Daisy, self-serve gas also on hold. Thanks so much. If you've ever found yourself stuck in Portland, by the way, waiting behind the wheel for a long freight train, then this update is for you. It is a notorious problem on the Central East Side where drivers say it can take up to an hour for a single train to get through the railroad crossings there. Now, Oregon is getting about $1.5 million in federal funding. It's going to go toward planning and projects to deal with the problematic crossings. In the Rose City alone, there are 15 different crossings that'll be getting a closer look. Got some welcome news for East County families this evening, with Legacy Health announcing a reopening date for the only birth center in that area and Mount Hood Medical in Gresham. Let's get to Mike Benner with the update here. Mike, a reminder for our viewers, they shut down in March without the required state approval. So when are they going to reopen?
Yeah, 1 week from today, David, June 13th is when the Family Birthing Center will reopen to the public, although it's unclear what the patient load will look like. And that is because hospital officials have hinted at the possibility of having to move patients to another facility should the Family Birthing Center here in Gresham reach its capacity. Now, you might recall it was late January when Legacy Health announced it had to shut down the Family Birthing Center at Mount Hood Medical Center. At the time, officials cited a shortage of workers as well as financial losses. Regardless of the reason, though, this news left a lot of people feeling unsettled because Mount Hood Medical Center is the only hospital in East County and serves people all the way up to Government Camp and beyond. Needless to say, the fact the Family Birthing Center is reopening is good news for people, including Gresham City Council President Sue Piazza. She tells me this is a positive first step towards reestablishing trust with the community and hospital staff. Listen.
My hope is that Legacy has learned a lot from this situation and that they will be better community partners like they used to be and be involved and work with the community when they have things that aren't working their way.
All right, the president of the Mount Hood Medical Center did release a statement apologizing for the confusion, stress, and disruption caused by this brief closure, adding that reopening the birthing center shows that providing safe, quality care is a top priority. Again, this birthing center set to reopen 1 week from today, June 13th. David?
Yeah, great news for a lot of families there. Thank you, Mike. An 18-year-old from Vancouver is under arrest for allegedly driving way over the speed limit. Deputies in Clark County say they caught him going more than 100 miles an hour early this morning and that he topped out at 130 while trying to get away. Authorities did not pursue him further because of the laws in Washington for chases at that speed. Eventually, deputies say they found the vehicle abandoned in a neighborhood and the driver, 18-year-old Tyler Stout, they say, hiding behind another car.